Well, it's really hard for me to define my work because I have done like almost about anything film related. So I actually started out wanting, like when I was a child, what I wanted to do is invent things, objects, and I kind of do in another way, through film. But, when I was about 20, I was in college and I found film was my passion, and I thought, okay, I think I'm going to dedicate my whole life to this. I consider myself really a showrunner because I basically am a producer, a very creative producer. So I do deal with scripts, although sometimes I'm not the first or only writer, but I, always develop the story. For me, it's really important.
Mhm.
Also having like a equality even in the story.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. Welcome to Push, celebrating female filmmakers and the story behind the stories. Push seeks to pose and explore interesting and relevant creator and process questions. Today, we are absolutely over the moon to welcome Rose of Dolls. Hi.
Hi, it's my pleasure. I'm always supporting female in film and me myself. I mean, like I've struggled also along the way, so I'm really happy to join you.
I'm just so excited, Rose. We our relationship goes way back to the very first well, I think your first Bilbao Seriesland, and I had a trailer of the Pepper Project in there, and I remember for me anyway, I remember just seeing and feeling and knowing that there was something incredibly special about that whole festival and event and the people involved. It's absolutely an honor. Where are you from?
I'm from Bilbao. That's why we created a festival here. Also, I actually am a doctor in web series. I cannot cure, but I actually did my PhD on web series, and that's how I got into this like world by creating this web series called Gifted Corporation was actually part of my thesis. So that was 2013. We
Wow.
started going to festivals. So 2014, we traveled to many, many festivals. We got selected. We were like over the moon. And then we saw all these, amazing festivals with some, as you said, that's what we felt, that unique energy of new creators, new talent that was really like emerging and growing everywhere in the world. And it was amazing. And we thought, we should do this in Bilbao. so so we had no idea how to create an event. But we said we just have to do it. And I remember one day sitting down at Miami with Brian Thompson, director of Miami Web Fest, and he said, okay, guys, so what would be the best possible venue for you to celebrate like a Bilbao Seriesland, like a Bilbao Web Fest called at that moment? And we said, well, obviously Guggenheim Museum, but that's impossible.
Absolutely.
No, we thought that's like out of our reach totally. But we said, maybe we have to try. Actually, it would be so cool. So we actually managed to get the Guggenheim from edition one up until the 10th. And it has been like really, really nice because, of course, like even Bilbao is studied in architecture for the Guggenheim effect. So that was
Right.
like it's kind of like the highlight of our city and how our city changed into a tourist city instead of like an industrial city. So
Mhm.
like there's been a lot of cultural change. And I think that also that this environment has helped me in a way because in the Basque country and especially in Bilbao, we have shifted from like a very industrial place, which was, like basically a shithole to like this beautiful city, like people want to visit. And so
Yeah.
there has been a lot of help for cultural things in the last decades, actually. And
Well,
we're
it's
lucky to have received many fundings, for example, for shooting in Basque. And that's how we really started doing film, like by all of these help from the government.
right. I mean, it's an incredible city with the architecture, like you're saying, the Guggenheim, mixed with the antiquity of original Bilbao. It just makes for such a fascinating landscape. And I mean, I'll never forget my first Bilbao. I still have, you're going to laugh, I still have on my phone, I still have that app, the Bilbao Seriesland, the Webfest app that led us from to one place to the next and had the calendar on it, just because that's how much it meant to me and means to me just to have that history. It was my first international festival abroad. What you're saying about everything about the city mixing and it architecturally coming into a different century with tourists now, and it really is a fascinating place. And it's amazing to me that you continue to create so much content continually with your company. You're quite prolific. You do a lot.
Yeah, I think, basically produce like 2 shows or 2 seasons every year for
Wow.
the past, like, at least 6 years. So I think we have produced over 50, if we count each season as one, I think like 17 series.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, it's quite a lot. We really have managed to, succeed in shooting in a very short amount of time. For example, 90-minute series. So we basically do, our formats are really almost like a feature film length,
Hmm.
like 90, 100 minutes, 10 by 10 or 8 by 10 or something like this.
Right.
Basically are shooting in like 2 weeks or maybe like 10 days. Our
Wow.
last one maybe was 8 days. So we're basically shooting like 10 end minutes per day. And we don't do, like the kind of show which is 3 people on a couch. We do like action, like the whole thing.
Right.
So
Right.
we're really, really quick. But of course, we have managed to get to a point where after 14 shows, or 15, it's like we get the hang of it and how can we shoot faster. So I really have to say that thanks to shooting in Basque, which we got funding for, it wasn't huge funding, but it allowed us to do what, like, so they would fund us no matter what theme, no matter what series. Like, we were creatively, like, completely free. We just had to shoot in Basque.
Mm.
So we got so lucky, for me, because we were able to develop ourselves as filmmakers and as writers and,
Right.
try all these things that work or don't work.
Right. And that's different than a lot of other people we've been talking to who, especially here in the United States, consistently struggle with funding and support. So it's really great to hear that you have had somewhat of a buoy underneath you to actually even lift you up for your creativity. So therefore, in with that as a base, what do you find that are some challenges in this place and time in being a filmmaker, storyteller, showrunner?
So I feel that there is a fight for creative freedom, in the sense that nowadays, like, I have very dark humor, and like, sometimes that kind of humor is not appreciated by many minority groups, whatever. I think that, for example, humor can be used to laugh about those things that are really wrong in society,
Right.
but where is that line? So sometimes I think that's one of the challenges we have today, is that the line of what we can say without offending anyone
Mhm.
is really difficult. For example, casting someone in a role which isn't of that collective can be a very big issue.
Right.
But I mean, of course, I think it's much better when you like cast someone which is like, for example, transgender. But maybe you don't find, or maybe, you know, like you do an open casting call, you don't get anyone. So sometimes it's difficult. So like, what should we do about these kind of topics, you know?
Right,
Um,
right.
I think those challenges are right now like big in what, you
Hmm.
know, like where is the, you know, freedom of like speech versus like not harming anyone,
Correct.
because of course you don't want to do that. And especially with comedy, that's like a very big struggle, I feel. Um, and then like we're living in a world where, well, in some parts, we're going very right, and very right is taking rights from many people, like women, for example,
Right.
like LGBT community. So that's really challenging also. Like I feel it's a moment where some countries are walking backwards in civil rights, and I feel like really sad about that.
Right. I
Um,
mean, Katie and I are sitting in it. I'm not speaking for you, Katie, but we're actually sitting right in the mecca of that right now with what's happening, and our heads are spinning. Right, Katie? Chime in.
Oh, just that it's madness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel that this like mare magnum of like political things like changing backwards is also very, very tricky
It's
at
tricky and
this moment.
it's frightening in a way that I didn't anticipate. We all knew it was coming if this was to come to pass, and I don't want to shift this to political policy. I would like to, stay focused on female filmmaking and what we are currently dealing with, but it is parallel right now because when you have someone who is domineering and the Christian right and abortion rights and everything that basically kind of trickles down in many ways to women and
Mhm.
inhibiting women and squelching women and uh, the reverse of pushing us backwards, then it's imperative to keep a light on that. And in the
Yeah.
arts, where I like that you said, using humor, art puts a mirror up to society, right? And how can we continue to do that if we have strictures
Mhm.
around things, right?
Yeah. So like an example would be like putting a chauvinist person into a series
Right.
maybe is to highlight that these fucking people also exist,
Yes.
you know, and maybe it's not wrong.
I think you're right. I mean, I think it's the way to call attention. It's like you have to call it out.
It's always tricky, you know, like
Right.
if I put a character which has this mentality, um, do people think that I have that mentality? You know, that so that kind of thing um, is a bit of a struggle. And one other thing, as a female filmmaker, I would say is that some people don't realize that there actually is still a big difference in so many things from a man to a female, like person, and then filmmaker. Some
Tom,
people just think that this gap doesn't exist. So, for example, in the
yes.
policy, in all the funding, like in the all the Basque funding, all the Spanish funding, there is like at least I would say 5 or 10% of the points are given to is the project gender equality, you know? And some people actually criticize this, you know,
Mm.
like, no, we're equal, you
Uh-huh.
know? And I think, well, not really. If this exists, it's because there's still so many less women doing things
Right.
that this is necessary to give them that extra push.
Right. Thank you. Exactly. And it's something that it's interesting how there's kind of a people are blind to it. And then when you bring it up, there's a denial of it, of the need for it.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I feel is kind of a challenge, because if I go all whiny, like I'm a woman, it's like so much more difficult for me, then some people would be like, oh yeah, and some others would be like, what's the difference? Like,
Right.
you have exactly the same rights,
Right.
And
and people think
it's
you
a
have
whole society thing, like it's not like I cannot do it. It's just like there's so many more challenges I have had to overcome normally as a woman than as a man.
And people think that it's you're trying to make an excuse or playing a victim, or
Exactly.
when you're really just saying, well, this is the truth. If you look at the percentages of female directors to male directors, even in the industry, or roles that have been available, consistently. Now things, of course, in the past maybe 10, 15 years, things have opened up, but that has not been without certain people pushing, to get it to that place. And it's not about whining or complaining or, like I said, playing victim. It's about stating what the truth is and how do we move past that and have the same access. What do we need to do to have access on an equal playing field? Tell us a little bit about In the Land of the Wolves, a very successful series for you.
So it's kind of like funny thing, because that was the first time we got funding for a project. So Oliver and I, we were thinking, so what should we do that we can do almost ourselves, a small project. We're going to get funding, but it's a small funding. So we had the best idea of our lives, like having a dog as one of the main characters. Don't do it. Never do this, especially a like untrained dog, which is your dog.
Right.
But then I said, okay, so it was kind of like post-apocalyptic look. So we always like to give the things we do a like specific feeling and look. And this was like a very, very unique kind of style, like Mad Max kind of style. So I said, if we get the funding, which is like, it's like nearly impossible. So I would shave my head, like my hair off. And then they actually gave us the funding, and I had to shave like half my head, like hair off.
I remember. Yeah.
I had promised, so I did, and I acted on it as well. And it was a really nice project, actually, which had more seasons and got many awards, especially like for the like art design and costumes and all that, like makeup, because it was very, very niche and very interesting look to the series. And yeah, like that's how it started. And then we continued doing many more series with like these small fundings. So it gave us a real push. But I must say, like, nothing comes without the challenge. So we applied for the funding, and because it's not a film funding itself, it's more like for digital projects. So there's web pages, there's apps, so there's like very like a variety of projects. So they gave us the funding on the 13th of December, and it had to be shot and edited by 31st December.
What?
Yeah. So we opened the funding and we said, wow, we got it. And then, but we cannot do this. Like,
Right.
this is not possible.
It's not possible, right?
But it was possible. Because when you are like as crazy as I am for like what you like and believe in, you manage to do the impossible.
That's called passion, Rose. That's passion, right?
So we did the casting the next day. I was looking for like, if we get an actress to play all this and to shave her head off, like maybe I don't have to do it. But we didn't, so I had to do it anyways. So we shot, and plus it's Christmas time, so we shot 5-6 days and we got the series done. Like, I don't even know how we did this. but it was a struggle, but it was like probably the best thing we ever did, because then we, that gave us that energy to keep on creating.
Momentum.
Mhm.
Yep. That's an incredible story. That's great. Where do your ideas come from?
So generally, Oliver and I sit down and then we think about, okay, if we, for example, our last series, we were thinking, okay, what do teenagers and what do kids like? So, and we started looking up. So music, video games, what else? We thought, okay, we could make a series that has to do something with video games, because we thought the television, that like we're pitching it to a television, and they already had like a show which was like kind of like a musical. So we thought, okay, that is covered. Let's do something like video game style. So then we, like start thinking about things and talking, normally over a couple beers, and that we start, like just shouting whatever comes to our mind, and then we filter the ideas and we're like, actually that's a good one, and yeah, but normally it all starts like this when we create, and then we write down like more elaborately, like, but the first idea stems sometimes from like, what are the television, what are they looking for? And sometimes it's just, oh, wouldn't it be cool to, do a series about this? And we just get like random ideas, and we, like we cannot stop thinking about ideas for shows. It's like incredible. We have, I said, like produced like 17. If we were to count and not the seasons, it would be like maybe like 13. If so, but we have maybe a folder with 25 projects which are never produced. Most of them will never be produced, but we still have so many more ideas. So like, yeah, it's a like infinite pool of ideas, like really.
Premise after premise. I know I have it too. Everything on my iPad, or written down of fully fleshed out things, and you just hope that someday some of them can be shot and fully produced and see the light of day, right?
Yeah,
but
we focus also a lot on characters, I think, when we're writing or thinking about ideas. So like on thinking about like what kind of characters would we like to see, or would we find interesting in a series, or the interaction maybe between two characters that is like interesting, dynamic, for example.
Right.
So
character driven pieces. Yep.
Yep.
That's I like the spitballing, the does this land, does this hit you, and then you just kind of go from there. I think that's great.
Also, I wanted to say that we do something really, I think, fun sometimes when we are writing, especially when we did at the beginning, because now it's just like we know how to write better. I think we got a little better at it. But at first, we would think and try to write all the characters as if they were men. Because when everyone, not us specifically, but when some people write female characters, they just fall into all the stereotypes of them being women. And okay, if a woman is at home, what is she doing? Oh, she's cooking, or she's, like doing like stuff around the house, which you would never do that if you're writing a male character, probably. So if you think of the characters as men, you don't fall into so many of those things,
Right.
Of those stereotypes. So at the beginning, we were really trying to, like, we do a lot of action kind of roles for women, So actually, it's kind of like reversing the stereotypical role of this Terminator, of this kind of like guy who can do everything and like will never, you know, fade away and can fight through everything, can, you
Right.
know, manage guns, manage whatever, and acts. So we always like to write these kind of female characters, which are this like stereotypical guy, but like if you reverse the gender, it's just like an amazing character.
There is someone that
So
I think that's great. And that's really interesting psychology and approach. I can't remember who it was, but in the US, I remember hearing on a panel somewhere that just take the characters that had been written and substitute for just put a female name on it when people were struggling with things. And then of course some of them had to be, you know, tailored. I think that works in the way that I don't think it works across the board, but I think it definitely works in the genre of action and characters of strength.
of
Um,
course, I'm not saying like for me, there's also
right,
like a specificity of women, which is
right,
important in some roles, you know,
right,
of
right.
course.
So, but I think that's awesome because it doesn't limit your mind in terms of, like you said, stereotypes, which are ingrained in us, which is what we've all grown up with is role models and what we should do and shouldn't do. And part of what
Mhm,
we were talking about before, where is women's place in society and where is it not? And
mhm.
who's making those decisions for us? So I think that's awesome. How is the creation for you, for Oliver, for your team? How is the creation to full production process similar to giving birth or launching something from yourself?
It definitely is. I think I read somewhere like when you expose something, you expose yourself, no? When it's like a creation of yours. And I totally agree. It's like a small baby because um I think whatever things come into this world first had to be thought, then someone had to have that extra energy to make materialize that thing. And even though we work with a very unmaterialistic thing, which is film, it's like right now it's only ones and zeros in computers and screens, but still there has to be like a lot of process, a lot of people in the making, um, to materialize something that was previously in your head. So I think it's such a fantastic way of spreading ideas which will hopefully be good for the world. I mean, I believe we are really lucky to be able to spread like a message through our thoughts and our films and our, you know, the way we think about things, which is seen at the end.
Hmm.
Um, right now, also like creating stuff for kids, I became more aware of all the things that, you know, come with the story that can actually help them, you know, like teaching them bullying, about, you know, how to handle that. So like putting all these extra layers into a story to actually um maybe overstepping here, but like make the world a little better, you know,
I
by
don't think
what
that's
we
overstepping. I
tell.
think that's great. Yeah.
Because we can also make the world a shittier place by what we do. So I feel like really responsible for, and especially working with content for kids, like what are we telling them? What are we making them believe is right? Um, is like being gay, for example, it's just a normal thing. You know, like one of the characters may be gay and that's all right, and no one makes a fuss about that. Or are we just, you know, like telling them that is wrong? So we're really educating people through audiovisual, through film. And I believe we have a big power, but also a big responsibility, like Superman and Spider-Man.
That's great. That's really well said. Tell us about your team. I know you have a focus, particular focus, and you mentioned that. I want to hear about when you start a project and you're thinking about who's going to be working with you.
Okay, first of all, in our team, we always try to have like at least 50% of female in the team, but also in the roles that we write, we always tend to write a lot of female roles, like protagonist roles, but also like relevant roles. Sometimes, like most of our films and series have like a female like lead, but sometimes, I mean, the story doesn't ask for that, but still, like, we try to have like 50-50 almost in every in every project, and also in the team, because it's important that there's like the female vision. Oliver always jokes about this, but you know, when I first read some of the scripts, I was saying, oh my God, this woman, like this character, this is like so chauvinist. We have to change this, you know. So I believe it's always good to have different views. Also from different generations, having a read, like I give my parents sometimes some of the things we did to read to see how they are perceiving this, or in the other way around, like our 15-year-old nephew, to see like what does he think about this, you know? How does he see it? Because, you know, every person with a different vision will give you a grasp of a different view and reality.
And that's your audience too. I mean,
Exactly.
if you're able to get feedback from different people, not only does your audience expand, but what a gift that people can relate to it in different generations. So
Yeah.
that's smart. What's your favorite part about a shoot?
When it's over. Shootings are like very stressful. I have had a lot of anxiety issues, a lot of stress. I really manage my stress very effectively nowadays. But it's always a really stressful process. There you're working with so many different people, so many different things, climate, feelings, egos, like so many things that can go wrong, that, you know, like it's a really stressful process, really. But it's kind of like an addiction for me. You know. I'm like, when a shooting finishes, it's like, oh my God, thank God it's over. But then it's like, let's do something else.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I think addictive. Yeah. I really like some of the moments. I think I like the pre-production phase the best, because it's when I'm imagining the story, bringing the characters to life,
It's so
you know,
fun.
clothing through like where are we gonna like place the story, and that part I think I like it more than the end.
Yeah, a lot of the prep, the conversations that happen, the collaboration, and then you're dreaming and thinking about, wow, this is really going to be great. And then when you hit the set, of course, all hell breaks loose. You wish you were back in your room just imagining it. I agree. It's a magical time, that pre-production time. How has the focus and subjects of your stories changed in the past few years with changes that you've gone through? I know you mentioned now you're working with children, so that's something to mention. But just in general, the scope of your ideas, has anything shifted for you with what's going on, world, personal?
Yeah, I would say definitely, like the ideas are coming from everything we're living. So for example, in 2020, we did this show which is called Complete Time Travel Guide, because we thought, okay, so I think limits help creativity. So we think limits are bad, but sometimes they're good. So we thought,
What do you
okay,
mean? What do you mean limits?
okay, I'm gonna explain.
Yeah.
In the show, we thought, okay, what can we shoot only in our studio? We have this bar, okay, and only with like 8 actors, because like the more people we bring in, the more like COVID spread can be. So if we keep it like in a very tight circle, so this show is about like three guys who are traveling through time, and each time they're at the same bar, same characters, but it's kind of like The Simpsons when they're playing like a character which is like another, for example, 20 years back, but it's always actually the same actors. So that kind of limitations were helping us, but of course we're playing around with reality and with all the things that we are living and making like another world inside to also talk about, you know, a pandemic and what's going on and all of this. So yeah, definitely we're really, I think, touched by the reality we're surrounding ourselves with. And then of course our personal stories. Yeah. In our case, like the shift to kids was not like a personal, but more like a professional thing, because we were asked to propose something for kids, and we said, we have no idea what kids want. So we started researching and then talking to kids about it. You know, we said, let's go directly to the source. So we were asking, like, what would you want to see a show about? And I think that's the best we did, because I think we got to do a show that kids are really loving.
I can't wait to see this. This is great.
It's a really fun. Yeah.
Yeah. We've covered a lot of the questions and some other things. Where do you see your company and the Seriesland going? If you could project something in the future.
My company would be a bit more time to make things better, which is always complicated because more time is more money, but that's what I want. If I had to like make a wish, I'd wish continue doing the same, but like twice or three times the budget, so everyone can be, you know, like not only more relaxed, but do a better job, like create like a bigger shows, which you know, like with more professional people, you know, because sometimes we're like struggling with like the everyday things. And I would really love, like, I love to be surrounded by creatives. And the better we get at our productions, the better, you know, creatives we can surround ourselves with. And, you know, do a better job, basically. So I just want to get even better at what we're doing and do bigger and better projects. That's what I would wish. And always staying true to the stories that we want to tell, you know, because I feel maybe some people lose that focus, and that's what I would never want to do.
Yeah.
You know, if still continue telling stories, which I think matter. Not all of them have to have that super deep vibe, but just speak to me in some way.
That's excellent and beautiful too. What a great wish to want to have to continue. And on that note, what would you say you'd like your legacy to be?
Oh my God, that word is like very big. I would say there's this sentence that one day came to my mind, and I think really resumes a little bit of the way I think and do things, which is put like every ounce of energy to the service of your dreams. So like I see so many people, and especially in the creative fields, which stop pushing because it's really hard. You have to struggle a lot when you're like an independent filmmaker. But if you continue there long enough, you know, you will get better at it and you will get real chances. You just have to keep on fighting, and not everyone, you know, has that energy, you know, to continue and continue and continue against all odds. But I believe like what you think you materialize. So that's the most important thing, I would say.
That's great. Thank you. That's I think that's a pretty amazing, I don't know, I'm speechless kind of. It's really poignant, I would say. And thank you for sharing that, 'cause that's pretty raw. It's hard to be vulnerable in our spaces too. There's so much going on in the world. There's so much scrutiny as a creator. Arts are attacked all the time. It's so hard in this climate with social media where everything is so accessible to be who you are and not be scrutinized. But I'm just kind of picking up on what you said, remaining true to yourself and your spirit, and knowing that you belong and you have a place too,
Yeah.
right?
I think there's a moment now of like hate. So there's a lot of hate going on instead of, loving and respecting whatever other people do, as long as they're not affecting you. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with anyone doing their lives with their, philosophies, religions, whatever, as long as those don't impact me negatively.
right.
If you believe I'm a woman and I'm less for being a woman, then I have a problem with you. And that's it. If you think my ideas are bad and should be, fought for any type of reason, I'm gonna have a problem with you. But if you have your philosophy and it's completely different to mine, I'm totally okay, as long as you don't think I'm a shit for believing otherwise.
Right.
But it's just a difficult time because these haters will, like just go against whatever. And we're in a world where, thanks to social media and their, advertisement, basically, the machine behind all the, apps and everything radicalizes us because basically they're showing us what we want to see. So we continue in those websites during more hours. So then we only get repeated what we already think.
Right.
So we like the extreme right and the extreme left basically that like radicalize a lot.
Polarizing.
So there's so much more hate. And I believe that's like a real shame. Like humans have coexisted for many years. I think we can still do that unless like a couple of these like, extreme extremists are like criticizing and hating on the other. So like, yeah, politically, it's like a difficult moment for film, for women, for,
Society in general, I think it's challenging. Yep. Well, thank you so much. I love what you had ended on with not only where you want things to go, where you see your company and yourself as a creator going, but the legacy. It was really beautiful. Thank you. And thank you for this opportunity to learn more and to revisit some things. And just in wrapping up, Bilbao Seriesland coming up. Highlights, anything you want to say about that? I
So
hope to be back. As I said to you, I miss it. I miss the city. I miss people. I miss walking around there. It's every time I've been there, it's been magical time. Just a magical time.
It's been 10 years of festival. It's not a huge festival, but it's a festival that like people really connect. And if there's one or two producers, those one or two producers actually speak with everyone, meet with everyone. Then sometimes things happen, I think it's like a very international also place to connect with other filmmakers. And also right now, like our area has become much bigger for shootings and all this. There's tax incentives, there's many things. So it's a very, I think, good time to come to Bilbao, maybe even to shoot something, because there's some very, very good conditions.
Right.
On the festival, like every year we change, we try things, but it's always fun. And as in shootings, I end the festival and I said, oh, wow, that was so much work. Like I'm completely exhausted. Never again, But then like 1 month after that, I'm always planning on the next festival. it's a lot of work, but because it's a very special place to be. And as I said, I really love to be surrounded by creative people. So it's like a blessing to host a festival and have everyone come into my city, you know, and have those like happy days and meet everyone.
Yeah, I want to contribute one last thing. I know this is about, I know it's my experience, but I wanted to share this as a thank you to you. I know I've mentioned this before, but Bilbao Seriesland was one of the first, I believe, international festivals that held something. You tried something called the Marketplace, and where creators had their own booth stand, if you will, and you had invited producers and production companies and creatives and executives to come and literally walk through and see what you had created, and they could watch a bit of your show, talk to you, see your pitch deck. And for me, I just have to say, the year that I did that, it just elevated the game. And I thought it was just so incredible. It was such a great offering for a festival to organize and to do that. And I know it grew, and then there was a retraction in different years based on attendance and happenings and who could come and who couldn't come, and then it has expanded as well. But for me personally, as a creator, as an artist, I thought it was a fantastic experience. And hats off to you for trying different things to have creators expose their content, get their content out, and see if someone is going to want to collaborate or pick it up.
Yeah. So we always think festivals are good always to connect with other filmmakers and to give you like that motivation to keep going, but also like being able to push your project further is like your main goal attending like an event. So we always try to do speed meetings or like booths or pitching. We have done like many different strategies throughout the year, or all of them,
Right.
like business meetings and all this. And I think that really works out really well, trying to promote the works in more like in a business oriented way, not only having screenings and then, kind of like awards and that's it, but professionalizing also this new talent. Because there's always room for good ideas. And I believe that if there's always some television executives coming to Bilbao Seriesland. We've had people from like Paramount, Viacom, MTV, AMC, HBO, Hulu, like first television in Spain, like the public television, then the Basque television, and many others, like really coming to look for new talent, new ideas. And so there's a real chance of, pushing it further, but you never know when that chance is gonna come, really. So yeah, I think going to events is always great, and I'm so happy that it helped you, and that like what we do matters in a way, because some people have come to me like, wow, thank you for doing this, and that actually you can't imagine how much it actually means sometimes, because you're struggling with like the funding and all the things, all the production behind the festival it's so much work. So like having this positive feedback from people really appreciating the festival, and like that it has actually helped them produce something new, or like connect to someone who has helped them produce, that is really like makes us proud and happy.
Thank you so much, Rose. And we're just excited that you shared everything that you did. You made some amazing points about filmmaking, sharing your story behind the stories, and just the genre of the collective ideas of things that you explore as a filmmaker, as a showrunner. And I think you're right. I think that's such a great title for you because you're in charge. Um, so thank you so much again. And thank you everyone for tuning in to another edition of Push.
Thank you so much.